good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all of you wherever you are logging in from. My name is Charlene Margot, and I'm just so glad to have you all here today, but most especially our presenter, Carin Winter from Mission B. I am the founder of the Parent Education Series and co-founder of the nonprofit organization, The Parent Venture. Again, we could not be more delighted to have you for such a timely presentation. And we know with over 200 people registered that this is an important topic of conversation. When Carin and I planned this event several months ago, we were worried about December being too busy, but then we realized that that really is the perfect time for a mindfulness and self-care workshop. So again, relax and enjoy, tune in, and let me tell you a little bit about how our program is going to go today. Carin will be offering about 30 minutes of content, followed by 15 minutes or so of Q&A. We have two different buttons that we'd like you to use today. My partner, Bev Hartman, will be putting links and resources in the chat button. For questions, we'd like you to use the Q&A button. So again, please do type your questions into the Q&A button. And if you could, keep them general and kind of short. We'd like to get to as many questions as we can today. So a special thank you today to the Sequoia Healthcare District and Dr. Carin Lee, Director of School Health, who is sponsoring this event. We would not be here without their partnership and support. Another special thank you to Judy Romero, Mental Health Specialist and Director of the Teen Resource Center at Sequoia High School, and Elaine Dessous, Mental Health Support Specialist at Woodside High School. So I mentioned to you that we are going to be having about 30 minutes of content, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A. So if you have questions or comments during the event, feel free to use the chat, check out the buttons there and the resources that Bev will be putting in. You will also be seeing a very short survey link that we hope you will fill in at the end of the event. We promise we read every one. It helps us both with evaluating this program and planning for next year. We are video recording today's presentation, so it will be available on our video library. That link will also be in the chat. With more than 11,000 views, we know that the video library has become a popular and trusted resource for parents. So please do check out the videos. It's free. Everything is sorted by category, including a new section with Spanish language videos. So let me tell you a little bit about today's keynote presenter, Carin Winter. Carin is the CEO of Mission B, Mindful Education, an organization she founded in 2004. Over the past 6 years, she has brought their program to 72 schools in New York and California, trained thousands of educators, and touched over 52,000 students. Carin is a licensed master social worker, earning her graduate degree from Adelphi University. She has extensive clinical experience working with youth in schools, foster care, and the juvenile justice system. In addition to 10 years as a school social worker in New York, specializing in substance abuse. Since 2005, Carin has been a committee leader with the Jesse Lewis Choose Love social movement and a speaker for Safe and Sound Schools in Sandy Hook, Connecticut. In addition, she has presented at the Palo Alto VA Hospital, the White House, Facebook, AmeriCorps, the Omega Institute, Wisdom 2.0, Menlo College, Santa Clara University, and Long Island University. Please join me in a very warm welcome for today's speaker, Carin Winter. Welcome, Carin. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Charlene. What a pleasure it is to be here. And thank you to everyone on your team and to Carin Lee and the Sequoia Healthcare District and all the folks that made this possible. We're so grateful here at Mission B to be back in California and serving one of our favorite school districts. So we've had the pleasure of working with Sequoia High School, and we've done some work with Woodside, and we really enjoy the students there as well as the staff. And now we're grateful to work with the parents. So thank you for the lovely introduction. So I've been working with adolescents and in schools for, I guess, around 20 plus years. I'm 46 and I've been doing this since I was in my mid-20s, and I really enjoy working with adolescents. I think that it's a very special time in their life where they have plenty of opportunities to grow and to create really healthy patterns to help them move into adulthood successfully. So I'm going to be sharing my screen, and we're going to do a little bit of learning about the basics of mindfulness and what it is and how it works. And today's going to be primarily focused on learning practices for yourself as parents to help manage your own stress. I did share in the chat the handout. I'm just going to add it again so it's fresh. So if you click on the chat section, you'll see a Google Doc that has access for anyone to open. If you have any issues with the Google Doc, you can go ahead and message Bev and she will help you with that. All right, so here we go. Let's get started. All right, I'm going to just make my photo, there we go, a little larger so you can see me, and I'm going to play my PowerPoint. All right, so it's been very stressful, obviously, for all of us with COVID, having our adolescents home with us more than we're used to, having them exposed to a tremendous amount of technology and a lack of social interaction can be very stressful on the nervous system of a teenager and also for us as parents. So what we've done over, what I've been doing over the past decade or so is integrating and teaching mindfulness to students. As a school social worker, what I noticed was that I could only counsel about 10% of the student population, and about 100% of them needed some sort of social and emotional skill and some sort of mental health support to get through this challenging time in their lives. And so what we did is we created a scalable solution for mental health so that we can create easy turnkey practices that are not complex or complicated. They don't need to be delivered by a psychotherapist or a counselor. And they can be practiced by teens and parents and teachers at home and in the classroom. And we've actually impacted over 100,000 students at this point, and we're continuing to grow. So before we go any further with research or data, I would like to get us all grounded in what we call the ocean breath. This is one of our primary breaths. And this is also in your handout, and it's going to be on page 4. So if you want to turn to page 4 in your handout or look at it digitally, this is a breath that you can practice on your own, or you can also, if your teenagers are willing, and I'll get to how we get them to be willing in a little bit, you can practice this breath with them. So let's come to a comfortable seated position and softly and gently close our eyes. And just begin to notice where you feel the breath in your body. If you're new to breathing, you can actually place your right hand on your belly and your left hand just above your heart. So in mindful breathing, we want to notice that first the belly fills and then the heart fills with breath. And then the heart releases and the belly releases. So we begin to notice and feel our breath moving softly and gently, just like a wave. Inhale, the belly and heart rises, and exhale, the heart and belly falls. Noticing the movement of breath through your body. Notice how the breath simply and softly and gently rises as you breathe in and falls as you breathe out. Now you can go ahead and place your hands on your lap, uncross your legs, and physically roll your shoulders back and down using the support of your chair. Close your eyes again. And simply notice your breath. Noticing the temperature of the inhalation and the temperature of the exhalation. Inhale, deep, healing ocean breaths. And exhaling, slow, relaxed ocean breaths. Breathing in peace. And breathing out a sense of relaxation. And then we're just going to move into silence for 1 minute. And every time our mind becomes distracted, we're simply going to bring our attention back to our breathing. Every time we start to think, we're going to notice that we're thinking, and we're going to return back to the stillness and silence of our breath, focusing our attention on the inhalations and exhalations. So we'll start that now for 1 minute, just breathing. And taking one more deep breath in and one more deep breath out. Simply noticing how your breath moves softly and gently, just like a wave on the ocean. And then go ahead, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So now we're just going to bring a little movement into our body. As parents, we probably tend to hold a lot of tension in our neck and shoulders. So let's just bring our hands to our shoulders and begin to make some circles back with the elbows. Hopefully our adolescents don't hear as much crackling as we do when they do these exercises. Good. So deep breaths in. We always inhale as we rise and exhale as we fall. So inhale, the elbows rise, and exhale, they fall. And then take our fingers and bring them to the back of the neck at the occipital ridge. So we apply pressure at the occipital ridge. It actually helps relax us. So we're going to squeeze to the right and drop our head to the right. Take a deep breath in, release the head back and squeeze to the left. Bring the head down, squeeze through center, drop the head all the way back and down. Good. And then just shake your arms out and relax your arms and shoulders. Great. So it's really important that we just learn to pause and take moments and time in our day to just take just a 1 minute breath or a 30-second movement practice, especially if we're working from home or we're working from a desk. Just those simple practices can help us come out of what's called a sympathetic or stressed state and move into a parasympathetic state. So when we start a workshop like this with those practices, it allows us to be more attentive and more alert. So I'm going to share my screen again. And we're just going to go over to here. I'm going to make myself a little larger so you could see me. And there we go. So after we've done some breath and some movement, I just want to talk about what mindfulness is. People often think that mindfulness is simply just breathing or doing yoga or movement. But mindfulness, in fact, drives everything we do. It's the power of being in the present moment on purpose. So I like to think of it as our interface with the world. How do we treat ourselves moment to moment? How do we treat others? How do we respond to life's stressors rather than react? That might be driving on the 101 and learning to take a breath when we're experiencing stressful traffic. It might be pausing when we're having a conflict with our partner, or taking a deep breath when our adolescent does something that triggers us. So mindfulness is really expansive, and it really addresses our entire relationship with ourselves and others. So we think about being mindful. We want to think about how we can be mindful in the world. It's also about paying attention on purpose without judging. So we have around 60,000 thoughts a day, and 40,000 are the same as yesterday. A lot of our negative thoughts can be about ourselves. So it's really important to have an awareness of our thoughts and try to unlock and break some of those negative thought patterns. And we do that through practice. I think of mindfulness as a discipline in the same way I think about working out. If we go to the gym and we continue to lift 15-pound weights, right, and do those reps, we continue to build those muscles. But if we don't do it a few times a week and we only see our trainer once a month or once a week, we're not going to actually get stronger. So mindfulness is really meant and designed to be a daily practice. It's something that we do not just when we're stressed, but something that we do as a routine in our lives. So if we can learn to integrate mindfulness into every day, whether that's first thing in the morning, right before lunch, or before bed, or all three, we are building those mental muscles and strengthening our resilience to stress and adversity. So why do families need mindfulness and stress reduction, especially during COVID? With our students and ourselves also seeing our friends less, just the trauma of having to wear a mask when we're interacting, spending too much time on the computer and feeling worried about our health, all of this can contribute to depression and anxiety, and not necessarily a clinical level, but just the general feeling of maybe feeling slightly dysthymic or low energy or uninspired, right? Mindfulness can help us train not only our attention, but help us train our mood and how we feel emotionally. It can also teach us how to increase our attention and our academic or work performance. So for most of us adults, that would be work performance. So I want to go back to that slide for a second. Here we go. So when we reduce our own anxiety as parents and we improve our own level of self-regulation, that's the best way we can teach our children mindfulness. Adolescents have so many mirroring neurons, so many more than we do. And that's why they learn faster. They tend to learn faster than we do. And they tend to learn with greater ease. So when we learn to reduce our own anxiety and our own stress and to self-regulate, we're actually offering our children an opportunity to learn from us and from our state of being and from our own personal embodiment. So for those of you who haven't heard about some of the data around mindfulness, we did collect some data, and I don't want to bore you with it, but I just want to cover it for just like maybe 30 seconds to a minute. So we assessed some of the teachers that were doing mindfulness with the students and them observing their ability to harness their attention and effectively manage stress. We also studied academic scores such as math performance and ELA, English Language Arts. And we saw 5 out of 6 categories in math improve. We saw a 13% increase in ELA. So if we can help the children academically with their attention, we can also help adults with their attention. I know for myself, it's tricky at work. I sometimes have, 15 windows open on my computer, but it might be better to be mindful and have one open, right? Another thing that we've noticed, and we did this some study research collection with a student at Stanford University where I speak often and also substitute teach. And we asked, one of the students asked the 4th graders how they were feeling. This was in a Palo Alto elementary school in Barron Park, the week prior to the mindfulness practices. This was 26 students, and we were assessing their emotional state. And these are the results that they had. They were able to write down 2 responses on how they felt emotionally. Now, you wouldn't think this would be the emotional state of a group of 4th graders in Palo Alto, but it was. 2 felt okay, 2 felt happy, and this was the rest. Now we did the mindfulness program for 8 weeks, and we also did daily practices with the students. So they did 10 to 15 minutes of daily practice every day for 8 weeks. And then we did one big 40-minute lesson. And we completely transformed their emotional regulation and their emotional state. So when I think of social and emotional learning for teens and adults, I think about math and English. If we never took sequential to algebra, we probably couldn't do an equation properly, right? If we never learned where to put a semicolon or a comma, we wouldn't know where to put it. SEL is the same way. Social and emotional learning, self-regulation, when taught, can radically transform an individual, regardless of their age. So for us as adults, if we've been caught in a negative cycle of thinking, if we've been feeling emotionally drained and tired and uninspired, we can retrain our attention and retrain our brain through simple and consistent mindfulness-based practices. So if we can help radically transform the mindset of these students, we can also help radically transform the mindset of our parents. So let's just pause for a moment and take a mindful breath and take all of that information in. So let's close our eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Connecting with your breath. Again, if you're new to breathing, place one hand on your belly and one on your heart. And just notice your breath. And just reflect on what I just shared, that we have the ability to change negative patterns of thinking to positive patterns of thinking. We have the ability to harness our attention, to be even more focused and more attentive in our lives. Okay, so take another deep breath in and another deep breath out. And then I'd like you to just think about, as you prepare to open your eyes, I want you to think about one area of your life where you think you can utilize mindfulness practices, one area in your life that's causing you some mild to moderate stress. And I want you to imagine what it might look like and feel like to practice mindful breathing, maybe the ocean breath, as you're experiencing this stressor. So what might it look like and feel like to practice mindful breathing while you're experiencing a stressor? So if you're having a hard time with this, you might think of driving in traffic, or when you're rushing or late, or when someone says something that triggers you. Also, someone's phone is not, or Zoom is not muted. That might be you, Charlene, just to mute. So just take a moment to think about what that might look like and feel like. And I'd like you just to visualize that time, that moment in your life, and just utilize your ocean breath. So take a soft, gentle, deep breath in, and a soft, gentle, deep breath out. Inhale, feel the belly and heart rise. And exhale, feel the heart and belly fall. Inhale, feel the belly and heart rise. And exhale, feel the heart and belly fall. Softly and gently breathing in. And softly and gently breathing out. Remember, if you're new to mindfulness, place one hand on your belly and one on your heart. And just imagine what it might look like and feel like to mindfully breathe through this mild stressor. Imagine yourself successfully breathing mindfully through this difficult time or this mild stressor. And as you imagine yourself breathing mindfully, also imagine affirming to yourself that it's safe to relax in this moment. And it's safe to breathe in this moment. Softly and gently breathing in, and softly and gently breathing out. Inhale and exhale. Inhaling again and exhaling. And just telling yourself, I am present, I am safe, and I am mindful. One more deep breath in, wiggling your fingers and toes. And then when you're ready, open your eyes. Great. So one of the important things that we can do is to learn to utilize mindfulness before we're stressed, utilize it when we wake up in the morning, before we even check our phone, before we turn on the computer, and sometimes even before we brush our teeth. But most people prefer to brush their teeth and then do the mindful practice. But as we build those mental muscles and we routinely practice deep breathing and refocusing our attention, we are actually building mental muscles so that when we go into a stressful situation, we're not new to the practice. So it's almost like lifting weights so that when you have to lift something extremely heavy, you already have those muscles prepared. And I think that's extremely important. And I think that's one way to look at it. And I'm going to explain some other ways to look at it and why it's important. So before we go into any more practices, though, I want to take a moment, especially to those that are new to you, to explain some of the neuroscience of how mindfulness works in the brain. Even teenagers want to know, why are we doing this? You know, is this supported by science? So let me explain how mindfulness affects the brain and how stress affects the brain. So in the brain, we have what's called the prefrontal cortex. It's right here. It's the thinking part of our brain. It's a higher order cognitive functioning, and it helps us make decisions. It's mostly what distinguishes us from other animals. So it's our ability to interact socially appropriately and all of that. It also helps us with math and science and English. Then we have the hippocampus. That's the teal thing you see on the screen there. And that's mostly connected to our memory. And then we have the amygdala, and we actually have one here and one here. It's named after the Latin word almond, and it's the alarm center of the brain. So back in the day, if you saw a tiger in the jungle, the amygdala would go off and you would run from the tiger. Or if you're in the hills hiking up in Redwood City or Palo Alto, right, and you see a mountain lion, you raise your arms and yell and scream, right? But there tends not to be mountain lions walking down Main Street, right? So we don't need the amygdala to be going up all the time. But we do have other stressors like the paper tiger, deadlines, meetings, taxes, you name it, right? We have a lot of stressors. And oftentimes our amygdala is going off when there's not an actual threat. It's a mild stressor, and our brain has somehow assessed it as high risk, and we constantly go into fight or flight. So we're overactivating the adrenal system, the endocrine system, the nervous system, which is affecting our brain, and it's affecting our memory. You might think about this when you misplace your car keys and you're very, very stressed and you're in a rush and you can't find them, and you slow down, you take a deep breath, and you're like, oh wait, I left them on the dresser, right? You've calmed down the hippocampus, and there you go. You remembered where you placed your keys. So we often have the stimulus and then we have the response. With mindfulness, we have the same stimulus. I'll go back to driving on the 101. And rather than respond by yelling or getting angry because someone cut us off, we have the stimulus, we do the mindful practice, we take a deep breath, we calm ourselves down, and then we can respond more mindfully. But what's happening in the body, right, when we're stressed? So when we're in a stress state, think of stress, sympathetic, S. Our heart rate's going faster, our digestive activity slows down, our glucose is releasing, and the heart, everything is accelerated. We're secreting epinephrine and norepinephrine, these stress hormones. But with mindfulness, we can move ourselves from a sympathetic or stress state into a parasympathetic or peaceful state, where our heart rate slows down, our digestive activity is working, we stop storing fat because we're not at risk anymore, and everything starts to self-regulate, not just in the mind, but in the entire body. Now, if you want to read along with me here, by the way, you can see all of those on page 2 and also on page 3 of your handout. There's also a description there of sympathetic and parasympathetic. Okay, so since we're all living with teenagers, let's talk about the teenage brain. So the teenage brain has twice as much neural connectivity as ours. And the brain is sculpted based on repeated experiences. So the more they see us stressed because of those mirroring neurons, the more they're going to be stressed. And the more they see us relaxed, the more likely and apt they are to be relaxed because of those mirroring neurons. So teenagers are more adaptable than we are. They adapt more easily to stressful situations, but they're also more vulnerable. So they're more apt to pick up on our stress than our partner is. So that's one thing, that's one kind of inspirational reason to practice mindfulness as a parent. So at the end of the day, we can focus better, we can feel calmer and feel happier as parents. So let's get into some more mindful practices, because after this workshop, I want you to be able to teach and practice mindfulness for yourself as well as your children. So I'm going to escape from here for a moment. I'm going to stop my share, but I'm going to pull up a link. So you can find our mindfulness practices on YouTube and also on our website. So I'm just going to click this, share this YouTube link, and I'm going to put it in the chat real quick so you can see one of our videos. And if you click on that link right there, that will take you to a guided visualization practice. You'll hear my voice, and you'll also see the background of the ocean, and you'll be able to watch a beautiful video that will guide you through a mindfulness practice. You can also go to our website, missionb.org, and I'll put that also in the chat. And if you go to the website, you're going to see a section under About and Videos, and then you're going to click on Mission B Videos. So I'm also just going there. So it's nice to have this because it's hard to guide yourself through mindfulness. And also, I know that you're all here for your own practice, but I also know that we're always here for our kids. So your students might, your children might not be open to you teaching them mindfulness, but they might be open to watching these videos. So the second link has all of the videos all in one place for you. So I'd highly recommend using that. So let's take out our handout now and turn to page 4. So as you can see, there is the ocean breath, and there's the link to the ocean video. Underneath there is the quiet air breath. So you can practice with a partner or a friend or a colleague in teaching these breaths to one another. And once you've practiced teaching them to one another, you can then practice them on your children, or you can just kind of guide yourself through the breath. So I'm able to guide myself through the ocean breath or the quiet air breath. So since we've done the first one, let's just do a few more. So the next one is the quiet air breath. So we're going to become as still and quiet as we possibly can. And softly and gently close your eyes. And then inhale deeply and quietly. Place your hands on your belly. So both hands on either side of your belly button. And as you inhale, feel the belly rise and fill like a balloon and expand. And as you exhale, release the breath back out into the room. So all this breathing is done in and out of the nose. Inhale, feel the belly rise and fill with breath. And exhale, release the breath out into the room. Remembering all of this breathing is done in and out of the nose. Inhaling. And exhaling. Do that 2 more times on your own in silence. Good. And you can go ahead and open your eyes. So that's a breath that we actually teach during lockdown drills. I know that when we were in school, we didn't have lockdown drills, but the students do now. And many students get anxious during them. So the quiet air breath is a breath that we can teach them to utilize during lockdown drills. And we can also use it ourselves when we're experiencing any environmental stress. The next one is inhale cool air and exhale warm air. I actually didn't notice that's what we were doing until about 5 years ago. That, oh wow, when I inhale, it's cooler than when I exhale. It's funny how we sometimes don't notice the simplest things, right? So let's close our eyes again and try this breath. So just notice how your breath feels in your body. Notice that when you inhale, the breath is cool. And when you exhale, the breath is warm. Feel that your breath is moving just like a gentle breeze. And scanning your body from head to toe, just noticing any areas that are tense and really inviting them to let go. Inhaling cool air and exhaling warm air. And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. All right, let's just do one more on this. The rest are really self-explanatory, and you can, like I said, practice with a friend or do it on your own. All of the breaths are in and out of the nose because there's the most scientific research to support that breathing in and out of the nose helps move us from sympathetic to parasympathetic. But there is one breath, the candle breath, that's in through the nose and out through the mouth. And there was one study that showed that helped decrease anger. So the 7, 2, and 8 breath can be used to de-escalate strong emotions or help us reduce stress. It's not really to create a sense of relaxed alertness, but just a sense of relaxation. So I don't know if I don't have the 5 and 5 breaths on here, but when the breath is shorter, like we train the Mountain View Police Department in these breathing practices. And when I taught them the 5 and 5 breath, they said, oh, wow, we actually learned that in our training. We learned that when you're driving an emergency vehicle and you want to be relaxed but alert, you inhale for 5 and you exhale for 5. So I thought that was fascinating. And that's more of an alert breath that you could actually do while you're driving the car. So you just simply breathe in for 5 and breathe out for 5. So just take a note on that since that's not in this workshop. And we're going to do the 7, 2, and 8, and then we're going to move on to visualizations and close it out and bring it back to Charlene. So close your eyes, connect with your breathing, and I'm going to count for the first round. So we're going to inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold 1, 2, and exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then inhale for 7. Hold for 2. And slowly release for 8. Great. All right, open your eyes. So you can see there's a few more breaths there. We don't have time to go through all of them in such a short class. And there's also some movements. We did a couple of them when we started the class. I can teach you the elevator movement. Let's just try that for now. So these movements are based in Qigong and Tai Chi. And there's a lot of research and data to support that they help reduce stress. And actually, when we surveyed the students at Sequoia Healthcare District many years ago, that was at Los Altos School District. When we surveyed the students at Los Altos School District, they said that they loved these movements the most of anything, which was I was surprised about. So what we do is we bring the legs hip distance apart and we bring our arms in front of us for the elevator breath. We're going to inhale and exhale. Softly and gently breathing in. And softly and gently breathing out. Again, the breath is in and out of the nose. We inhale, softly and gently breathing in, rising the arms up. Sorry. And softly and gently breathing out, bringing the arms down. Breathing in, rising the arms up as we inhale, and softly and gently releasing the arms down as we exhale. So the principle of Tai Chi and yoga is very much the same. We always inhale and rise, exhale and fall. And in traditional Tai Chi, the hands are always facing down, but this is more mindful movement, so it's a little different. So that's just one little thing. And if you're interested in that, you can find more movements online. But I want to go to the visualizations and close out with this. So if you turn to page 8, the bottom of page 7 going into page 8, you'll see the wave and sunlight visualization and the deep progressive relaxation. So the deep relaxation is, you're better off doing it lying down. And if you have an opportunity, we're going to lie down just for 2 minutes and then I'm going to end. But you can lie down during this practice. And this is really to help get us in a more deeply relaxed state. The visualizations are excellent to use in the evening, right before bed, and we're experiencing stress. And basically what a visualization is, it's deep breathing in combination with utilizing our imagination to get into a relaxed state. So many of us are nature deprived, maybe not as much in California, but many students, especially in the inner cities, tend to be nature deprived. So all of our visualizations are connected to nature. So we do the wave and sunlight, the star, the mountain, the rainforest. So if you're able to lie down, go ahead and lie down. And if not, just lean back in your chair. So you don't have to go into a structured, straight up seat or a yogic seat, but just go more into a relaxed seat. Close your eyes and let your body relax. This will be our last practice of the day before Q&A. I know I'm running a couple minutes behind here, but let's just take a deep breath in and a deep, soft, gentle breath out. And just begin to relax the muscles in the face. Relax your jaw. Feel your eyes soften. Relax the muscles in the back of the neck and head. Feel the weight of the head. And as you inhale through the nose, imagine a cool breeze washing through the nose. And exhale, let it go. Take another deep breath into your belly and your heart. And as you exhale, feel the weight of the shoulders soften. And feel a wave of relaxation washing down to your arms and fingertips. Notice your breath. And take another deep breath in, feeling the belly and heart rise and fill with breath. And then as you exhale, feel a wave of relaxation washing down your legs, your torso, all the way down to the tips of your toes and the soles of your feet. And now softly and gently scan your body for any place where there might still be tension or holding, and simply and gently let it go. Dropping any resistance to tension and just noticing it and inviting it to release the best that you can today. And let's just join in silence together for 3 breaths. And then when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Great. So thank you. If you go back to your handout and you turn to the next page, page 9, you'll see there's some ideas and tips for morning, midday, and end of day. Ideas and tips for when to practice mindful breathing. Feel free to start with one of our guided visualizations or just simply a counting breath or an ocean breath. There's also a space that you can fill out if you print this to put in when you're going to practice mindfulness. Remember to be realistic about your schedule and how much free time you have, and to start simple. Maybe just start with 2 minutes and work up to 20 minutes over the next few months. We also have music resources there for you to check out and digital applications. I really enjoy calm.com and I really love Insight Timer. There's just a tremendous amount of information on Insight Timer and also very simple guided practices. We have some recommendation for books. If you liked the neuroscience piece, Dan Siegel's excellent, and Susan Kaiser Greenland. And there's also links to our trainings. If you just go to missionb.org, you can see trainings there. We also have the Mindful Teacher Parent Summit, which I will type that right here in the chat. We hosted that when COVID first started, Mindful mindfulteachersummit.com. At the Mindful Teacher Summit, if you're interested, you can email me. I'll give you my email. It's Carin@missionbe.org. And I will give you, the summit ran during COVID time in the spring, but it's a recording of 37 mindful teachers. I'm interviewing folks from Stanford University and from some of the top mindfulness organizations in the world. So there's 37 speakers. It was a 21-day summit. And I forget what the cost was. I think it was less than $200, but if you email us, we will give you a $100 gift card to that if you're interested in checking it out. And it's been such a pleasure. I can't see all of you, but I know you're out there, and it's wonderful to see that there's people tuning in from all the way over in Europe and all over the US, and especially Silicon Valley, one of my homes in the world. And thank you, all of you. And I'm here for Q&A. So I'm going to put Charlene back on, and I'm going to highlight her, or Charlene, you can highlight yours. I'm going to pin your video if you'd like. Unless you want to keep me pinned. Okay.
Well, thank you, Carin. That was a lot to cover in 45 minutes, and I know it's not easy to share practices and give information, so thank you for all of that today. If anyone did not or was not able to pull up the handout, we will send it out in a follow-up email tomorrow with a resource link to Mission B, so you'll have both of those things in your email. Carin, let me start with a question that came in from a mom who says, my 9-year-old daughter for the first time says she is stressed because of stay-at-home learning, and she's been unable to finish her work for the last 10 days. And tomorrow she starts back at in-person school. She's surprised that such a young child is feeling stressed. Do you have any questions, or do you have any support that you can offer for her feelings of stress? She's 9 years old.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Well, I would say first and foremost, it's really great that she's expressing to her mom that she's stressed after being a school social worker for so many years, and also working previously with even younger students in that age group. So many kids keep their feelings inside of them and don't share their fears and don't share their anxieties. So good job to you as a mother for being there for your child and for making it comfortable for her to share her feelings. That's the first step. Secondly, I would say that, yeah, it is normal for kids that in that age group to experience stress. I was observing a 3rd grade classroom yesterday, and a lot of the students were sharing some of their stressors, and I would just have a dialogue with her about what are some of the things that you've tried that have helped you alleviate your stress. So first, identifying what's worked for her and how it's worked. So that might have been maybe calling a friend or playing a particular game, or maybe she's done some sort of exercise. So focusing on the knowledge that she does have and the resources that she has and has utilized effectively. And then introducing her to some mindfulness practices that are easy, that are age appropriate. I can also email you the student handout for K through 5 with some simpler practices. A lot of the K through 5 practices integrate movement and breath because kids at that age tend to be a little more restless. So sometimes it's easier to teach them those movements. So I will also email that to Charlene, and then she can forward it over to you as well.
Thank you, Carin. That would be great. So here's a parent of a teen who says, I'm sure you've heard this before, when I suggest mindfulness practices to my teenagers, they just roll their eyes at me. How can you engage kids in self-care practices at home? They really need them. I know you've been very successful in our high schools. So how would you suggest engaging teenagers now that we are doing school at home?
Yeah, I know after working with adolescents for 20 years that the parent is in the hardest position to try to get them to do something they don't want to do, unfortunately. And I've been a guardian for many children in my life. And so the first thing is to just practice it yourself and reduce your own stress so that they see, oh, wow, mom's less stressed or dad's less stressed. And when they see the change in you, they become curious, right? So the first thing we can do is practice it ourselves and do it effectively so they notice a change. The second thing I would say is if you want to introduce it to them, do it at a time when they're vulnerable. So if they're experiencing some sort of stressor in their own life and they're coming to you and talking about it, just say, okay, I have an idea. I tried this for myself. It worked for me. give it a try. When they're tired, when they come to you and they have a need, that's a good time to say, I really tried this for myself and it worked for me. And do you want to try a breath? You can also simply send them the link to the app, purchase an app like calm.com or Insight Timer, get it on their phone, and they might use it and not let you know they're using it, but send them my videos. They might want to try that. I wouldn't push it too much. I definitely would never ever use it as a punishment, of course. I think most of us know that, but yeah, it's like introducing them to anything else. It can be tricky, right, when it's coming from us, but I think that just give it some time. One of my friends is a yoga teacher and an English teacher in a high school, and she was very disenchanted because she was trying to introduce mindfulness to her teenage boys, and they were extremely resistant and wanted nothing to do with it. But when they turned around 23, now they were like in their late 20s, one became a yoga teacher and a massage therapist, and the other one is teaching mindfulness and sound healing. So she planted the seeds, and they used it when they needed to. So your child might not admittedly doing it, but if they go on their first date, God forbid, or they drive the car for the first time and they're anxious, they might end up using it and not admit it. So
Really good advice, Carin.
yeah.
Really modeling, as she says, modeling is key. I know that
Yeah.
I started meditating, and it's not a lot of time every day. Even my adult children were like, "Hey, Mom, you seem more calm." And I
Yeah.
thought, that's great. If it shows for the kids, then you're doing something right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing we can do. And honestly, the best thing we can do is just meditate and practice mindfulness for ourselves and get ourselves self-regulated because of those mirroring neurons. I mean, our brain isn't fully developed till we're 25. It's 90% developed by 19, but it's rapidly growing. Think about how fast a child grows from 12 to 16, right? Like those middle school years. So, there's a great TED talk by Jill Bolte Taylor on the neuroscience of the adolescent brain and how it's basically hijacked during that hormonal phase. There's so much change happening in the brain because it's repruning itself and it's learning. It's the best time to learn new habits and new behaviors. And the best way we learn is by watching others and by learning from others, just like when we're babies. So the more that we can show them calmness and can show them self-regulation and how to decrease fear and anxiety, the more they're going to pick that up from us.
Absolutely. So here's a question about outdoor activities. Parent says, I read about using mindfulness in outdoor activities, hiking, walking, etc. My kids are very athletic and outdoorsy, so this might work better than sitting still for 20 minutes. What do you say?
Yeah, I would say when you're on a hike with them, just noticing, like saying out loud, wow, look at that beautiful bird, or look at the sunset, or did you see that tree? Look at the leaves on that tree. I think just subtle things like that, rather than saying, let's go do a mindful walk. I mean, we teach mindful walking, and we taught that to the teachers at Sequoia and the students there, where we take them outside and we really slow our walking down. We say, walk like your feet are kissing the earth. So you feel the heel of your foot and the balls of your foot and the toes touch the earth. And then you feel the other foot and you take one step per breath. So you inhale and you exhale and you feel one foot and the other foot. And the students really enjoyed that. And when we come back into the room and we process, what was that like outside? They're like, wow, I never noticed that tree, that big redwood tree that's sitting in the circle, and I never noticed that other tree right outside of the football field. So, I mean, that's a more intentional way to do it. But as a parent, the more subtle ways are more powerful. So, especially if they're resistant. So just say, like, wow, look at that tree. Look at the subtleties of movement in the clouds, and I think that that's a really great way to do it. Just the frequency of noticing and connecting to nature and making it part of your dialogue. I think that's the best way to integrate nature.
I love that. I worked with a therapist once who practiced mindfulness with his clients who are mostly young boys and middle school boys. And he used to take them out with a basketball and they would do mindful basketball dribbling. And you can really do that too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one way to connect with your children is to take them for walks. Now, you don't want to walk when you're in conflict with your partner or your children, because if you're ever having a conflict, you always want to be facing eye to eye. I was just listened to a talk on relationships and mindfulness, and they said more arguments happen when you're in the car on the phone because you're not making eye contact. So you're not cultivating empathy for the other person through your eyes and through your body language. So you always want to be face to face with your children during conflict. So try not to have any conflict with them over the phone. But if you're in a good place with them, going for a walk with them outside and just noticing and just saying, oh, I really want to go for a walk. Please go for a walk. You might have to beg them. Please go for a walk with me. And then as you're walking, be like, when was the last time you saw a cloud like that? And you just take a deep breath in, and don't even ask them to take a breath. You just take a deep breath in, and maybe it's like yawning. Maybe they'll just take a deep breath in too.
Wow, some great questions are coming in, Carin. We have time for a couple more.
Great.
Okay. Here is a mom who asks, I know mindfulness is important, but sometimes I fall off the cliff and the kids see it. What do we say to our kids after they witness us kind of having a little meltdown?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we're all human and no one's perfect. And I think as parents, we all have a sense of guilt at times that we're not a perfect parent, and we've been a bad role model because we've gotten angry. But I think first and foremost, self-forgiveness. So just breathing in and breathing out and just saying, I love and accept myself, even if I got angry today. Breathing in and breathing out. I love and accept myself, even if I lost my temper. I'm going to do better tomorrow. I love and accept myself just as I am today. I think parenting is tough. So self-compassion, self-forgiveness first. And after we've done that, turning to our kids and saying, you know what, like mommy got really mad today and I'm sorry, I could have handled that better. And I'm going to try to respond and not react. I'm going to try to take a breath and calm myself down next time I feel like that. And I might fail and I might succeed, but I'm going to do the best I can. So
That is really great advice, Carin. Parents, listen to that. What Carin just said, it's okay to apologize to your kids, especially now. Times are hard. We're going to lose our temper. We're going to lose our cool. But you can go back to your kids and say those words. They'll remember that forever.
Yeah, being vulnerable with our emotions. I think part of social and emotional learning is vulnerability. So not being afraid. I have a second piece of this about COVID. And one of the ways that we can reduce our I keep saying students because I'm so used to teaching teachers, our children's anxiety is just talking about our own anxiety. Like, yeah, it's been hard, like being afraid of getting sick. And, maybe you live in a home where everyone has a healthy immune system, or maybe you don't. And maybe everyone knows that. So talking about the obvious is always really healing. So saying, let's say, for example, the dad had an at-risk immune system. The kid's not like, sometimes I worry about dad, but I hope he's going to be okay. And we're taking every safety measure. And we just have to trust that we're all doing the best we can and that our bodies are strong and we're just going to continue to do the best that we can. So I think that talking about our fear, but also comforting our children is okay. A lot of research shows that when we have a certain emotion like fear or anxiety, but we express that we're okay when our emotions don't show that we're okay, that's confusing to the child, and that they don't trust their gut feeling and they don't trust their own emotional assessment of others. So always just being really honest about where we're at. I think that really helps our children say, oh, my parents experiencing anxiety, but they have the tools to self-soothe. So I think our kids knowing that we're stressed is okay, but they also want to know that we have the ability to self-soothe. So I think that's a really important factor. Being vulnerable, being honest, and learning to self-soothe is good.
All right, so last question, Carin. This one is about physical environment. And I think that given that many of our students right now are home, this is an interesting question. This parent writes, what can you do if your stressor that is making you sad is your physical home? It isn't the home we wanted, and I don't find it very happy. What can I do to feel better about that? A person who's not happy in her physical space.
Yes, understood. I think that what we can always move to, no matter what the circumstances, like Viktor Frankl said, the last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. And I can relate. I've been in homes that were smaller than I wanted to be in, and in spaces where I had to share parts of my home that I wasn't happy sharing. So I empathize with you. And I think that one of the things that helped me and that could help us all is cultivating gratitude and acceptance. So just breathing in and breathing out and saying something like this to ourselves as the parent, even though I'm not in my ideal home today, I accept this moment as it is. Even though my home's not exactly what I want it to be, breathing in and breathing out. I'm grateful that I have a place to be. I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head and heat and water. And hopefully we all have heat and water. And if we don't, breathing in and breathing out, that we have air. There's always something to be grateful, no matter how rugged or disappointing or harsh our environment is and our climate is. A year ago, I trained a group of mindful educators in Brooklyn, New York, that then took our program to a refugee camp in Lebanon, which was dealing with very, very difficult circumstances, as you can imagine, people living in tents, families sometimes separated, not the best supply of food or water or heat, etc. And we got great feedback from that program. And we had to make the program, of course, culturally appropriate for the circumstance. But I think that in those circumstances, just cultivating gratitude for what we do have, that there's always something to be grateful for, even if it's just our breath, even if it's just the fact that we're still alive, or that we have a warm place to go.
That is really beautiful advice, Carin. And we're going to end there. I want to be respectful of everybody's time who's joined us for this hour. But thank you, Carin, for really all your caring and caring for our kids and all that wisdom today. We are grateful. So again, this video will be available. Parents, and we will email the handout to you so that you can follow along. Please share this video with your partners, with your kids, if they will, and with anybody who could use a little bit of help through these stressful times. Thank you so much, Carin. See you all soon.
Thank you, Charlene. It's been a pleasure. And thank you to the Parent Education Series. And thank you so much to the Sequoia Health Care District. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.